This is Taylor Blackwell. You're watching the Break It Down show.
I love what you're doing professionally. I mean, I loved Resident Alien when I got to see that, and you were in that a little bit. You're an actor. You're like anybody who's trying to figure it out in Hollywood, which I think is anybody where the phone isn't like, bring, bring, are you available? No, if you're not doing that, we're writing, we're producing, we're acting, we're songwriting, whatever it is, to try to figure out how to be relevant in entertainment. And man, this market. So I'm a producer. I produce things. I'm hoping to produce a movie. And you know how impossible these things are. So when I say us, I mean we're in this world where we're trying to guess what the market's going to be 6 months and a year from now. We're trying to juggle all the people that we're trying to get to work with us, and they're trying to be busy, and so they want to commit to everything, but there's never a commitment. So I appreciate your hustle and I appreciate what you're doing. I can't wait to talk to you about your project.
Thank you. Yeah, I told you before I came on, but for the audience, I woke up with a
Yeah,
swollen eye. I don't know what happened. I
yeah.
I gotta put a hot compress on it after. But I normally have two eyes that look more like this. Um, yeah, I think uh, like you said, the what people are seeking is always changing, and our industry is so in flux. And
Right.
I feel like, every couple months it's, oh, this type of story is in, and now people really like Westerns or they like this. And so it's kind of impossible to keep up with all those changes. So I feel you have to, if you like it, there's going to be other people that like what you're pursuing. And I
Yeah.
think you got to kind of lead from the heart as far as the projects you're trying to pursue.
Yeah, in a vacuum, if you were to pitch your project, well, one, how good is your pitch, right? Like, forget about the quality of the project. Like, yeah, oh, that elevator, I change all that. You can always get told like you need to do a better job when you're not like Steven Spielberg. If he does an elevator pitch, everybody's like, oh my god, because he's good at that kind of thing and has the name recognition. But yeah, it's tough. Like, you can have a great project, but Hollywood's it's full of great projects. Nobody brings a crappy project to the table. That's table stakes is an incredible, mind blowing project.
Definitely. Yeah, we're in an era too that's, I don't want to say oversaturated, but in a way, we're coming off of peak television where there's so many things out there, and a lot of people want to work in entertainment now and find the idea of it alluring, but it's not always so alluring in practice. But I've been acting since I was a kid, so I love what I do, and I love getting to work in this field.
Yeah, yeah. So I remember Judy Tenuta coming up. Obviously a pro, right? Does a lot of stuff, but you would never say, man, icon of all things comedy, right? So she's a player, she's relevant and everything, but you wouldn't I wouldn't have picked her for a biopic, and you have, and so let's understand why you made that choice, because obviously it's a good one. You got this project and it looks hilarious. Everything I've seen that's been online has been great, but why Judy?
I think she was a trailblazer in comedy, and especially being a female in a male dominated field, which is something we explore a little bit, the challenges of that in the film. The film's called It Happened, the Judy Tenuta Story. She was so quirky. She had such a strong, distinct voice. I'm an accordion player. She's an accordion player. So that's, from a personal standpoint, draws me to her. I feel that connection. I feel all accordion players are a little bit connected through space and time.
Yeah.
And I just felt there was really something here worth looking into more. And it was a different story than what we've really seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a different story. And for those of us who are young enough to remember, it wasn't that women weren't doing comedy, they were. But and also the 80s was a time when female frontliners for bands and solo artists really became a real thing. Now it's like we don't even think about it, but back then it's like, oh, that's a female act. Wow. Okay, we'll see how Tina Turner does, that kind of thing. You're like, no, she's been doing things for a long time. We just, she kind of just took a break for a while. And so when I talk about Judy's role, like, yeah, she was one of the people that were there. And then the other women around her who were comedians, Joan Rivers, Paula Poundstone, all of those people, they all worked on things together because I think as a club, they're like, hey, if I'm going to pick up and support these other comedians, I'm for sure going to support the ladies that are out there doing this with me.
Yeah, I think you just said Paula Poundstone. Judy was in a special called Women of the Night, where she performed with Rita Rudner, Ellen DeGeneres. Paula Poundstone was one of the women in that special. And yeah, she definitely came up in this time where female comics are being given a little bit more of a spotlight and are also allowed to be a little bit more brash than
Yeah.
maybe they've been allowed to be in the past. Um, and I think Judy really led the charge with that. Of course, there was other female comics that were also outspoken and crazy, for lack of a better word. But she was definitely one of these early comedians who was so true to herself and was being kind of a little more aggressive on stage
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
see other comedians, and especially female comedians, being.
When I think about who Judy was, she was, and this is and tell me when I'm wrong on this, because this is just how I interpret what I remember about her art. She was a bit of a caricature of what a woman comedian might be, like, because there's a little bit of ridiculousness. Like, you've got this accordion, my dad played the accordion. And so it's always like, hey, what's going on? And so, though she has like a striking face, like where you're like, wow, she looks kind of a lot like Joan Jett to me in a lot of photos, and everybody loves how Joan Jett looks. But Judy managed to kind of just put, I think, a comedic spin on her appearance. Is that fair at all, or is that me being a dick?
No, I think that is fair because she was beautiful and she she leaned into her beauty through giving herself the title of I'm a love goddess, I'm wearing a flower in my hair, I'm the divine feminine, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she had parts of her onstage persona where she is leaning into that side of herself. Her voice is going high, almost
yeah,
angelic, and then suddenly she would turn on you and
yeah,
have this snappier, quicker, you know, side that she's pulling people up from the audience and and they're her love slaves suddenly, and she's speaking out about men who have not been great to her. So that duality I think is really attractive and interesting, and something that definitely drew me to this project was I wanted to be able
yeah.
to capture those turns. There's it's any sort of turn in comedy is what makes us laugh when we've
Right,
been set up one way and then suddenly our world gets flipped upside down. And Judy was really a pro at doing that.
right. Yeah, it's interesting. And I don't want to act like she was a prop comic, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, like, her beauty was something she used to make you unseated, right? Which already kind of made things weird. And then she's got this, this accordion thing, which is just so, like, it's a funny instrument, just like in the way it moves and the impressions that we automatically get. But then also, yeah, there was that, I'll say, the presumed sexual attraction of the audience that she kind of put on the people, like, oh no, of course you're going to be attracted to me. And so it is, there's some physical comedy, and I saw you do like her motions, like even that is design. She doesn't actually move like that in real life, probably, when she makes food in the kitchen. Maybe she does. Chris Farley was kind of just his own way, but yeah, there's a lot of development in the character when I think about it. And when I saw you do that move, I'm like, oh my god, that I knew instantly, like, you were doing Judy because of the way your moves were not quite mechanical, but kind of in that nature. It's interesting to think about the design of the entire character that she created.
Definitely. Yeah, from the costumes, which were often kind of more like prom dresses, like beautiful flowy
Yeah.
dresses, and then her accordion, which had stickers on it and her name down the spine of it, which also, side note, I was able to use her real accordion and her real
Oh,
costume for this film, which were, given to me to use by the Judy Tenuta Legacy, her foundation, and her life partner, Vern Payne. So that was a huge gift to actually have
huge.
these truthful elements within a fictionalized story. It's not a documentary. I'm playing her, so it is. I'm sort of playing the character, the onstage presence of Judy, as
Yeah.
well as playing kind of who she was a little bit in real life. But I also never got to meet Judy, so
Mm,
having these I like to your point of like I don't think she was like doing things in the kitchen like this when she's cooking. I From what I gather, it seems that Judy, everyone told me, was just as funny. Sometimes like people were like, I felt she was
sure.
funnier in real life sometimes than on stage. Like she just was
Yeah.
a very naturally funny person. Which sometimes comedians, when they're not on stage, are very quiet. They're very shy people. I don't get the impression Judy was that,
Yeah.
but it seems that her onstage persona was just an amplified version of who she was off stage. And for me,
Yeah.
preparing this role, a lot of my job was to try to get down some of the nuances of her physical comedy. She used her hands a lot. She would kind of use her eyes to look up and look around, that sort of thing. And that was stuff I
Yeah.
was trying to recreate.
I dig it. That's so neat to talk about because this transfers across art. One thing is like the physical motion. And one of the things we learned from Elvis was bigger on stage. Get your arms way out there. Do karate kicks and stuff. Because on a stage, you need to be big. You need to fill that room, and you're just. In Elvis's case, he's got a band, but he is the person everybody's watching, and so Judy is filling that comedy club up. And so you do need to have something that draws. Look for her how she does comedy. Stephen Wright stands there and is all deadpan. Like totally different approaches. A lot of approaches to this, but I get why she does that, and you get the vibe that she is a great time off camera. And if she's like musicians that are like this, they'll all say the performance is great, but it's tight and there's no room for fucking around. Like this is the performance. This is what we're here to do. I play keys. I'm not in this band. I work for this band or whatever it is. But in practice, oh no, practice you can take chances. Practice you can do things. And some of the best musical moments. And this is people like Sly Stone saying this. So like this is like the pinnacle of all musics. Um, that's when you get a chance to do something incredible. And so I would imagine that her comedy was like that, where there were no jumps too far because she's in her private life, and you can say, of course, you can say things to your friends that you would never say in public, to try out
Sure.
a joke or try material out, or realize, oh my god, that's hilarious. Let me write this down, because practice is where the real genius happens. So says Pete.
Definitely. Yeah, I think those less curated moments sometimes can bring real magic.
Yeah. You were in Resident Alien, among other things. Everybody should go check out Taylor's IMDb. You'll see she's quite busy. But are you a comedian at heart? Is it your root?
No, I've never done stand up. I at some point would be curious to give it a try. I think
Sure.
playing Judy helped me to realize I've always viewed that world as seemingly so challenging. I think it's challenging to be any performer,
Mhm.
but man, stand up seems like such a different beast to me. I give anyone who does it so much credit. So
Yeah.
that's not my world at all. But I do love comedy, and I've done a decent amount of comedic film and television projects.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I saw Jeremy Piven do comedy. I guess
I did
Comedy Store.
actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a not a leap, but that's him stretching artistically. And of course, if you're going to do that, Comedy Store, the Improv, these kind of places in Hollywood, that's where you do these things. And it is neat to see, the fact that you can go to that club and see all these guys who are pros working on their stuff and cracking each other up, but also see Jeremy Piven have room on the stage to go up there. It's a neat experience. Anybody who ever has a chance, you guys should definitely go to that either one of those comedy clubs. They're right there by each other. But yeah, would you do stand up? Would you go out and take a round at the Comedy Store?
I'd love to try it at some point. Yeah,
Yeah.
even just I'd love to do an open mic that no one's at. I think that would be a good starting place. Just go
You don't want
somewhere.
to start at the Comedy Store in front of all those people with all your comedic friends?
Yeah, no, I'd love to start somewhere with, like, total anonymity where I can
Yeah.
just go up and maybe there's two people watching.
Yeah,
um, I love improv as well, so that's something that I have had experience doing when I'm acting in film and television, but I'd like to do more on stage
yeah.
improv as well.
Sure. Yeah, that's a tight wire right there too. But once you get used to it and and look, I'm not some big improv guy like everybody, but I've done it. If you've done it, you realize that there are some people that are just naturally good at it and then they take off because they have the practice to go with the natural. But there's also folks that build it by design. That sounds kind of crazy to say about improv, but they understand the mechanics of improv and
Right,
they get
there's something I
really
think mathematical about it, especially if you come up in one of the schools of improv like UCB. Judy was a part of Second City a little bit.
of course.
All those different schools have their formula, their method, their thing that they
Yeah,
focus on, and it really does become a little bit of an equation at a certain point.
right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Second City because I was going to get there at some point. But this is the whole thing. Like we have this documentary going on right now, Rubens and his character Pee Wee Herman, and
Mhm.
you
Friends
know
with Judy.
he was he was so rigid with his public persona in terms of like he came out and he played Pee Wee for a very long time that we never really got to know Paul Rubens. You know, it also I think you tell me helps your marketability because we have this thing that everybody loves and they love this look and it's like why not tell another story from another person from that era because Pee-wee's basically Pee-wee. Paul Rubens is basically just the same age and so these guys fill the same time. It's interesting. What are your thoughts overall about the market coming into shape with Paul Rubens's documentary and everything else?
Paul and Judy were friends and came up in the same era of comedy. So
Right.
I think there's definitely something there, and I think people love an origin story. I haven't seen the doc yet. I've been really wanting to see that, but I
Mm.
am a fan of Paul Rubens, and I mean, also there's the Weird Al Yankovic movie, which is a
Sure.
biopic as well,
Yeah.
and Judy was also friends with Weird Al and was on his show, and they were often collaborators. So there definitely seems to be an interest in this era of comedians. Uh, there was a TV show, was it called I'm Dying Up Here? That's
Mm.
based off a book. I think that's what it's called. That's another one that was a couple of years ago that was sort of fictionalized accounts of comedians in, I think, the late 70s. And a couple of the people it's based on were also contemporaries of Judy's and friends of hers. So I'm hopeful that there will be continued interest in these stories, and maybe we make a longer version of ours. My current film is 13 minutes long, but I would be thrilled to get to explore Judy's story
Yeah.
further, and then also some of the stories of the people that she was friends with and coming up with in comedy. And the last thing I'll say in regards to that is I think there is something really interesting that was happening at that time in comedy,
Yes.
where you have these avant-garde comedians who, like Judy, like Pee Wee, like Emo Phillips, they all were connected to something kind of childlike and had this persona going that was youthful and vibrant. And that's so different than what we're seeing in comedy today. So to kind of see that progression of where we've come from and now where we're going, I think would be interesting to explore.
Yeah. Yeah, and you maybe think about the movie Big with Tom Hanks. They in that era they made several of those. My body has been swapped into another body, and now I'm younger than I really am. And so Tom Hanks did one, George Burns did one. There was another one where they swapped and everything, and so there was a bunch of that. And so I'm glad you mentioned that because I probably want to come back to that. But let me get into where I wanted to go next, and I hope I don't lose that thought. Oh man, it's on the edge of my. Okay, so yeah, I remember now when growing up, and I grew up in the 80s, I was watching TV and I was, I went from 10 to 20 in the 80s, right? And so it's a real good time for being impressionable. And I love just like that out of step comedy, irreverent stuff. I love the stuff about the Pope because it pokes its finger in the machine, in a way that's completely hilarious, right? And so I love all that stuff. And that Second City vibe. Of course, Saturday Night Live comes up, and those guys are incredible too. And the Groundlings, we learn a lot about them in Paul's documentary. But you don't, if you understand who the Second City people are and how they did things, it takes 2 seconds to look at Judy's work and be like, oh, she's a Second City person. And I don't know if she was ever on Pee-wee's Playhouse, but she absolutely would step right in and be welcomed on that show. She would fit. So I think you're saying that she wasn't, but what is that Second City vibe that I get, that I see? Like when you see, any of that, I hate to even try to name all of them. Eugene Levy comes to mind. Martin Short. These guys were all Second City people. What is it that they figured out in that area?
I think the playfulness is a big part, and those big comedy switches too. Like Judy being
Yeah,
able to be angelic and sweet and then be kind of more that sort of thing.
yeah,
And I think I'm trying to think with Pee-wee if he would have those turns in a different way. They weren't as drastic of going from the
mm-hmm.
sweet to the sour, but I think he had a bit of that too, where he could pout I mean, some of those comedians were almost clown-like in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's a fair assessment of Judy necessarily, but they were very expressive and definitely had the playful quality as well. But I also, I mean, truthfully, I don't know enough about all the comedians who came out of Second City to draw like a line of like this is
Right.
the connecting point that all these comedians had. But knowing just what I know about the era
Yeah.
and then also Judy coming out of Chicago and coming up in Second City, and then also a lot of those comedy clubs in Chicago,
Yeah.
which also Emo Phillips, same thing. He came from those places, and he
Yeah.
was a character clearly. Um, but both of those Judy and Emo were characters, but they were using so much of themselves, putting themselves into this caricature, drawing from real world experience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I think you're nailing down exactly what I'm looking for. And you're right. Second City for that era, it's 40 years ago, and so to understand who Martin Short was, who John Candy was all this time ago is different than they would be. John's not with us anymore, but these guys all have evolved into their own thing and become something different than that era. But there is something about that era when that quality got so high that those that exited and got to go be pros, they were all, that's how this works. Art is inspired by art. And so they see each other really going and landing and trying these things. It's a neat era for comedy. And I lived in Chicago for a while, and this is just kind of a fun thing. You can see it. There's still people there doing improv stuff. And so there's people out doing they'll go out and be by Wrigleyville, by the field, and there'll be a circle of them. They'll be clapping in time, and they're working on these things, and you see them actively developing their craft. Most of them don't ever do anything in comedy at all, but they're there at the heartbeat and they're studying it. And it's just exciting to think, I wonder who's down there who's going to, figure out how to exit out of this. And it really is for them. And they really can take the bad parts because it's easy to take the good parts. And I mean, this in acting, it's easy to take the good stuff. It's can you build up that callus so that you're like, yeah, that's bad stuff. And who cares about that? That comes with the turf. And it's neat just to think about people still trying to pursue that thing.
I think improv is such a good skill set for life. And when I've been in improv classes, I've found it cool to be in class with people who are doctors and come from all sorts of different walks of life and career paths. Many of the people I've been in classes, especially like the beginning classes with, have really no desire to enter the world of comedy, but it really does make you more flexible and thinking on your feet. I mean, those are all great things to
Mm.
apply to everyday life situations.
Yeah. I want to. This will be a bit of a leap. Let's see if I can land this thing with you. You got to use Judy's accordion,
Hmm.
and I believe it's possible. I don't know if it's true, but I feel it. So I'm like, I've experienced it. So I don't know, but I'm. It's possible that when you grab someone else's magic machine, like this accordion in this case, or a baseball player's bat, that some people on occasion can feel it. And I don't know if that's us bringing energy to them. I don't know if it's their energy in the bat or in the accordion, or if it's a combination of two where, like, if you're attuned, you can feel it. But I bet you, like, we both know Harlan, and Harlan is a saint. I always like to mention him because he doesn't get enough credit. Harlan's wonderful. But like Harlan will say, hey, come down to the Max Factor building, to the Hollywood Museum, and you see this stuff, and that place crackles with energy that resonates with me. Even though it's just some dumb old thing from the old days and it's clearly inanimate. But I can feel these things. What do you think when you put your hands in that accordion? Does it have energy?
I think so. I think
Okay.
anytime you're putting on the costume, I mean, I know for me, being on other sets, I can do my work and feel prepared on the material, but that process of going through hair and makeup and putting on the clothes is really sacred and transformative. And I feel like I'm in it then once I'm in the clothes. And
Mm-hmm.
to then actually, for this project, wear Judy's actual clothes that she wore, which I, by the way, went into her real closet to find. So being in her space, in her home, and picking out these pieces and then putting on her accordion as well, I definitely feel those things are charged with some sort of energy and made me
Yeah.
feel for sure closer to her and like I was more in the character.
I had a guy on the show. He's an actor, very
Oh, I think you
successful. He used to be a
froze.
leading man. He's a little older now, but
Can
oh,
you see
are
me?
you there? Oh, there you are. You got a little
You,
stuck.
you I think you froze for a
Can you hear me?
minute.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
had an actor on the show named Dale Midkiff, and he
Oh, I
used
think
to
you're
be a leading
freezing
man in a
again.
lot of things. Oh man, I think we're still stuck over here. Is it me or is it you? Let's see. Sorry, everybody. We're working on
I
Wi-Fi
don't
technology stuff here. Okay, I think we're good now. You look clear. Um,
Yeah.
I had an actor on the show. His name's Dale Midkiff, and he played Elvis at one point on a big major production of playing Elvis. And he got to go into Elvis's actual room in Graceland and be amongst his things alone. And this goes to that energy thing because he said it changed how he saw the
Mm,
role, right? What are your thoughts? Like if you get, I
I'm
mean, you went
sorry,
into
I don't know
Judy's
what's
room, so it made
happening.
me think of it, and you have her clothes. What is that like? Is it informative
I
to
heard
who
the
she
answer. I don't
is?
know if you can see me now.
When you go into Judy's
Sorry,
room,
my
yeah,
Wi-Fi.
yeah. When you go into Judy's room, right, like Dale Midkiff in Elvis's
I
room,
heard
it changed his role, right? It changed how we saw Elvis. How did it inform you? If you can relate that.
I think it humanized her because I wrote and directed this film in addition to playing Judy, and I had spent months doing research, watching her comedy specials, watching interviews she gave, reading her books. She had published 2 books, just getting my hands on anything I could. And so she had become this fixture in my mind, but then actually going into her space and seeing her handbag on the dresser and being in her closet and going through all these clothes, it reminded me this was a real person who came up with these all these ideas and had all these life experiences. So it was humbling and made me feel even more grateful that I got to be the person to help tell her story.
Is this your idea from the beginning and you gathered friends, or did someone bring it to you?
No, it was my idea. I collaborated on this project with my friend Brent Mata, was our cinematographer and also producer. And we had worked together on a couple other projects. And one day he asked me, as we were looking to maybe work on something else together, he said, well, what would be a dream role for you? And I was just at that time starting to get really interested in Judy and curious about her as a fan, but also could see that, we had some similar life experiences, and then of course I'm an accordion player as well, and then I do think we have some sort of resemblance. So I felt, I think there might be something here worth
Yeah.
exploring. I didn't know what the story would be exactly, but I kind of pitched to him that I'd love to make something about her. And he was already a super fan of hers. So immediately he was on board and supportive of me pursuing this project and writing it and making it happen.
You're a badass. That's great. I love it. I love it. For folks that don't know, that leap, it happens all the time in Hollywood, but it's such a big thing to go from, maybe this is the thing, into like really turning into something. The trailer, and I love your trailer. It's right down below. That's the link for it. It's a 13-minute movie right now. A part of when you market a movie is you do things like you make a 13-minute short and you run it through festivals and that kind of thing to hopefully get a bigger project. Is that what you're going for? Are you just doing the steps to see what happens? Where is the project at in terms of growth?
I think it is a standalone short, but also I do hope it leaves more to be desired. Right now, we did play our first film festival, the LA Film Fest, and we won Best Indie Short at that festival. So that was really exciting, validating.
Yeah.
And the hope is to play it at a lot more festivals and get more eyes on this project. And yeah, hopefully can potentially make a longer form version of this. That would be really awesome to get to do that. But in the meantime, we just want to get it in front of more people. So anytime I've been talking about the film, I've asked listeners, if you run a festival, if you're connected to someone who runs a festival, you think you might be interested in our movie, you can reach out to me directly. My email is tayblackwell@gmail.com, or my Instagram, The Musical Mushroom. That's where I've been posting a lot of updates about the film, as well as my YouTube channel. You have the YouTube link there. We also have the Pope song out. I performed Judy's song, the Pope song, in the movie, and the actor Alan Tudyk, who's one of the greatest working actors.
Yeah.
He plays the Pope in the film, so he's in that music video for the Pope song that I have out now. But we'll see what happens. I
Yeah.
think that we've gotten some positive feedback so far, and I'm curious to see how people feel as we continue to get it in front of more audiences.
You said tayblackwell@gmail.com. Did I get that right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to put that on the screen here. So, folks, if you're interested in the project and you want to help out, that's how you get a hold of her. Or just get a hold of me and I can get a hold of her. It's super simple. I rely on the audience to know what the heck they're doing and how to Bing and Google things. And so you guys know how to find her. And you also know how to support the show and you know how to support Taylor. So go look into her stuff. And just this is how you support the arts, everybody. You find folks like Taylor and you go, you know what? I'll bet some money on that. And who cares if you lose the money? We're not talking big money, but just get behind a project. If you have big money, great. Well, then you hear her talking and you know
We'll
what she
take
does. And
that too.
yeah, get to writing them checks. All right. So I don't want to make it all about me, but I want to relate to you. So I'm working on look, you know how this goes. I've got about 10 projects. And when someone comes up to me and like, do you have a Western? The answer is always going to be yes. You know how this works, right? Yes. So then I'm like, I got to get me a Western. But I'm working on this really great boxing story among my other movies that I'm working on. It's the one that's got the most energy right now, so it's getting the most attention. And it's the script currently is 177 pages. So
Wow.
yeah, and it's a period piece. Double wow. So obviously we've got to get this thing down, right? But there's I don't want to say there's nowhere to cut, but there's no reason to cut any of it. It's all so good. So it could grow into 6 hours easily. And so we're struggling with that. When I see you make a 17-second, oh my God. So her trailer is 17 seconds, everybody. I'm so jealous that you were able to get it so short. And it's so good. It's so sticky. It makes you want more. You just nailed it. I just wanted to point that out because it's not an easy thing to do. I'm looking at this 177 page project going, how do we get it down to, can we even get it down to 120? Oh my God. And you got 17 seconds and you compelled me. God damn it. That's great.
Well, I think that's also the era I'm coming up in too, is people want quick, digestible things, and that's not
Yeah,
everything. I as a viewer, I and like a media consumer, I enjoy the fast content I can look at on my phone just as much sometimes as I enjoy like a Stanley Kubrick film where
sure.
every now in cinema it's like if you're in a room and then you're walking into another room, we cut just jump into that second room. But someone like Kubrick was showing the person literally walk to that other room.
Hmm.
Everything was sort of documented and it was just slower paced. So I like both of those things, but I'm definitely exploring through my own creative practices some of that quicker pacing.
Yeah, yeah. How much of your attention is the project getting right now? I mean, obviously you've got I just said like I've got 10 projects that I'm working on, right? They can't all command my attention every day. And so some days, some things get, attention. They may not get attention for 2 months because there's nothing to do. How spread thin are you?
Well, with this specific project, the film is done and edited, and really the only capacity in which it's taking my energy is through speaking about it and then also submitting it to festivals, but it's not taking up a lot of space right now in my life just because there's not a lot
Right.
to do with it
Yep.
except kind of like see what happens. But I am also like you, often writing multiple things at once, and I am acting, so some of my time goes to auditioning and meeting with people,
Sure.
and then some of my time goes to making TikToks because that's a great way to reach people these days as well.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
also I do music. So yeah, I'm a little I don't feel stretched thin these days, but I've had points in time where I'm I'm really juggling a lot of things at once, but I think as I'm getting older, I'm streamlining the process a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. With age and experience comes that elegance where you
Mhm.
put your foot in the right place the first step. You don't have to, do three steps to make the one step happen. That for sure happens. And we all do that. And we also get a little more selective on, one of the things I learned from doing this show is my friends and people that want me to do well will always give me more work. Like, hey, I don't need more food on my plate. I got a full plate. Here's where I need help. And if I can't define to them where I need help, it's almost always money. Um, then they really can't help me, and that's okay. And that's 100% fine if that person wants to help but only can give ideas and not professional ideas, and to say, yeah, that's a good thought. That's a great thought. Here's where I need help, and if you can help me here, great. And sometimes that just turns into me having lunch with them, and that's enough. We move through the process in that way. But that's because I'm less precious about my show and how it does. It's not that I don't care about my show. It just only requires so much of my attention. And if it takes too much of that, if I spend too much time working on TikToks or whatever it is, and I'm like, I am not doing what I do, then I've got to back out, right? And I'm not picking on you on TikTok. I'm just saying you understand how this is. I can't manage 20 multimedia or 20 channels, nor can I pay someone to manage it for me, nor would I want to pay someone to manage 20 channels for me.
Yeah, I think it's all just intentionality and
Mm,
consistency and why are you putting energy in certain places. And
yeah.
for me, I I think there's been a several years of trial and error and seeing what feels good with me and what seems to resonate with other people. And so now I'm getting clearer on both of those things and and trying to dedicate a little bit of time towards those different interests each day.
Are you a multi instrumentalist, or is it's simply
Mhm.
the accordion? Yeah. What's your home instrument?
I love accordion, but
Okay.
I
Okay.
play guitar and keys. I feel like I guess keys would be like when I'm
Yeah.
writing songs, for a long time I wrote songs on guitar, but I feel now I'm writing more on piano.
Hmm.
And then I
Hmm.
sing as well.
Of
Those
course.
are
Of course.
the
Yeah.
main ones, but I play a couple other instruments too.
Yeah. I got a chance to go see David Foster at the Greek, and first time I'd been to the Greek, and it's just incredible. And for those who don't know, David Foster is you've heard his music. He's among the most successful musicians ever. So, and I don't mean ever like in the last 20 years. I mean ever in the history of music. He is wonderfully talented. It almost sounds silly to have to even explain who he is, but not everybody knows. So I watched these incredible musicians play with them, because you don't get to play with David if you're not 100% pro and going forward and doing amazing things. And it's neat to see, careers that you can have a career playing with David Foster. I play bass for David Foster. Wow. That will get you a lot of gigs. You'll have freedom to do your own stuff when David isn't on the road. It's just an amazing thing. If you had something drop into your lap where someone like David Foster comes along and says, hey, why don't we go do a 28 date tour? Do you have room for that in your life to go be that level of professional musician?
I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
well, for one, I don't think I'm just truthfully like a strong enough player for that. I
Yeah.
think
Okay. Okay.
I play a lot of instruments, but I'm not a virtuoso in any of them. But I
Right.
love it, and
Yeah.
I'd love to tour someday with my own personal project.
Sure.
Um, but I think I'm always a little more interested and inclined to tell my own stories and
Yes.
focus on that than um, like being in support of someone else. I that's just where
Yeah.
my passion lies, if I'm honest. It'd be hard. I mean, certain opportunities would be hard to say no to, but I
Yeah.
mean, in
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
example, I'm like, I just don't think I even have the chops for something like that. I think
Yeah.
I can kind of, especially like as a performer with my own bands, I I think what I bring to the table is like being an actor and a storyteller, and I can kind of like perform as I'm singing
Yes.
versus like I'm not doing anything that complicated musically. I'm more so compensating with like being an actor and acting out what
Yeah.
I'm singing and playing.
I'm so glad we got into this, because this is a fascinating topic. Because so you have no problem playing publicly in front of people, and the instruments, that whatever instrument is, you're going to grab the piano, you're going to grab the guitar, you'll grab the accordion and play in front of people, right? So you are a musician, and you, like, I don't play publicly in front of people. I'm a musician of a kind. I can play harmonica and I can play guitar and everything. Kind of play some things on, but that's even anything after that. I'm really kind of starting to stretch it, and I can sing a little bit. But I also know that, like you in David Foster's band, you're like, whoa, that's a different thing, right? So we're all in this same lake, and our ships all kind of start together, and then it's like, like, oh boy, that ship, I don't belong in that. And it's neat to be able to recognize as you graduate up this level of artistic professionalism, where, like, I want to enjoy that journey, but it's not my journey. You don't need, and I love that you said this, you don't need to be in support of somebody else. And I was hoping that you were going to say something like that, because you are someone who wants to be the tastemaker, and you kind of alluded to this earlier. We don't have to worry about what the studio wants. You're going to make something and say either they will like it or they won't, because you're going to know it's good for you, and you'll determine if that's good enough for the market. And then the market can do whatever it wants, because you know that what you made, entertain. And I'm very much the same way. I have to abide some marketability, but
Sure.
if I make something great, then that's good enough for me. I don't want to waste anybody's money, on the production side, but that's why we're making something great. Is to say, hey, this thing's going to do fine. We're going to make it, and it'll become what it is. I'm not going to make something to fit a hole over there, because those folks don't always pick the right holes to fill.
Definitely. Yeah, and I've played like backup before for people,
Sure.
and it's so fun. And I feel I probably have the capability to, if I were to like really work hard at my instruments, to like build that skill set. But it's just not, again, back to like intentionality. It's not where my focus is, at least at this current stage of my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. That's my favorite part of our conversation so far, because it's okay to be honest about these things and what role And look, you change your mind tomorrow and be like, you know what I want to do? I want to go play with these great musicians, and I'm going to
Yeah.
chop up and get that, you know. But that confidence, that says a lot about you and your art, and how you create. I think the world of what you're doing and taking on the Judy Tenuta story. Sometimes we need that thing. It's like, wait, I didn't know I needed to see the Judy Tenuta story, but now I can't wait to watch a 13-minute short. Where do folks find it? First of all, where do we find that so we can watch it right now?
Right now, you can't watch the whole thing because of the film festivals. So many of the
Okay.
festivals, they want to be the place that is debuting the film or debuting it in that
Okay.
region. So once we've done more of the festivals, at some point the film will be available online. But I don't
Hmm.
have an exact timeline for that yet. It really just
Yeah.
kind of depends on what ends up happening with some of these festivals we're waiting to hear back from.
So TBD on seeing that, and hopefully we find out that there's a 90-minute movie in production, and you're running that thing. How
Yeah.
exciting would that be for you to, like, not only have your own project, but you're like, I'm the boss lady. You know, here's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's very much what I'm working towards, not with just with this process, but or with this project, but I wanna be I hope to make my first feature as a director writer sometime this within the next year. That's my
Yeah,
aim, and I would like to be a TV showrunner someday and just be doing a lot of the things I'm doing currently, but on a larger scale.
sure, sure. Well, it seems entirely possible. I mean, you've been so great on the show, and I appreciate it. We also had a bit of this for everybody else to know. We had a bit of a scheduling snafu, all my fault, so I apologize publicly to you for botching that thing. But we're pros, and so we figured out how to get it done, and here we are doing it. Is there anything else that you want to say in closing? Anything else we needed to cover that we didn't cover?
No, I think I mentioned it earlier, but social media is a great way to keep up with what I'm doing. I'm the musical mushroom on Instagram and TikTok, and Taylor Blackwell on YouTube. You can find the trailer, find other things that I'm up to. I am playing a show with my band September 2nd in Los Angeles at Zebulon, which is a really awesome venue in the Silver Lake area. And it's a free show, and it's going to be like a birthday concert because my birthday's the day before. And I'm playing the show with one of my best friends, Finn Argus, who I share a birthday with. So we're going to be
Oh,
celebrating
right.
our birthdays and playing music. I'm going to be playing a lot of new music. So if anyone is interested in coming out to that, I hope to see you there.
Yeah, and I'm going to put your handle for Instagram because that's a good spot to get all of Taylor's work here. Let me just put this into the thing. Kapow. Uh, if you don't want to go see Taylor in Toluca Lake, Silver Lake, anywhere, any of the lakes that she's at and performing live, go see live things. Like, if you don't like RAI, go see live things, and definitely go see Taylor because she's doing incredible things. My cousins are in LA and they have an incredible band, you know, and so there's so many people that are out there creating things. I got a chance to see a lot of. If you live in Southern California, you go to the Troubadour, you go to the Greek, you go to the Hollywood Bowl, you go to all these places to see all these things. The other day, and this is why you go out to these things. And granted, it's Hollywood, so it's a little bit different. But the other day, and I was going to go, didn't choose to go, did something else. They did a Grease sing along. Guess who sang Danny Zuko's part?
Oh, I
That's
think I
right,
saw that. Yeah.
John Travolta. Yeah, yeah, and Frenchie was sang by Frenchie. You know, so
And
these things happen when you go out. Magical things happen, guests appear, all kinds of things, and just even if not just the show itself, it's wonderful to be out with someone you care about and go see a great show. So everybody go out and go support live music. Taylor, you've been wonderful. Thank you so
thank
much. I would love to come see you play in September. I don't know how our schedules will line up, but I'd love to come out and see your
you.
band and everything else. So anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, just take good care of yourselves. Be kind to people. Thank you so much.
Be kind to people. Gosh, right there. Bam, nailed it. Okay, everybody else, I'll see you actually at noon today with another show. Taylor, thank you. I'll be right back to say goodbye to you. All the rest of you, I'll see you on a couple hours.